Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is mostlydarius and this is The Discussion. Today we're going to be discussing Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Season 5, Episode 6, Mazel, Meredith. If you enjoy Bravo TV recaps and reality television, make sure you subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up on this video. And also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at mostlydarius and at The Discussion. I'm not going to keep you guys here for long. Let's get into the recap. So right off the bat, we open up the episode with Meredith rehearsing for her bat mitzvah. She's been working on learning the Hebrew and other things that come along with transitioning into her new religion. Meredith said that it's special for her because she's doing it at an older age, whereas people usually do this when they're younger. And so I was like, I could see that. And then Heather spoke on how she used to always go to bat mitzvahs when she was younger. And then she started explaining how tiny the Jewish community is in Salt Lake City. And for me, it really put in perspective how everybody is like living a different life, because I tend to forget that. Well, I don't tend to forget it, but I also, when she said that it's tiny, I remember, Salt Lake City is full of Mormons. So I was just like, it was interesting for me because everybody does have their own religion and way of life. So, I was like, good for Meredith, congrats. Angie said in her interview that she was surprised to be invited to the event because of the things that were happening between her and Meredith. Meredith later shared that same sentiment, and we'll get to that. The episode flashes back to when Mary and Angie were at Mary's house. Mary was saying how she may come to Meredith's event. It's up in the air because of what she's going through right now. And she was also speaking of her experience with her son, Robert Jr. She was saying that she never thought that everything that's happening would be happening in her house, which I could see that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you never think it's you until it's you. And that's why you gotta walk around here like it can always be you, because everybody's human. But anyways, we get past that. We get to the bat mitzvah. Britani, Bronwyn, what's Whitney's friend, Mazel? They're all talking about the whole Girl Scout thing. And Bronwyn still feels a certain way towards Whitney and Angie. She wants an apology from Angie. And Britney is mad at Angie for calling out her interacting with like many guys or something. And then she accused Angie of, she must be doing the same thing with Sean. That's why she's saying it about me. So we're going to keep that in mind for later on in the recap, right? Okay. Brittany just kept going on about how she was offended about it because it was offensive to like her religion and she doesn't do that and da 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 da. And for me, it's just like, girl, like you keep like, this is the two-facedness that people are talking about with Brittany. It's like, girl, in one breath, you're like so religious and you don't do this. You get mad at Angie for bringing wine and that, but then in the next breath you're drinking and we on Bumble, we on Tinder, we doing this and I'm effing him and I'm doing da 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 da. And it's like, which one is it? Like, are you quote unquote holy, whatever that means, or are you, down with the down? Like, girl, like, so I could see why Angie's probably like, you don't even make no sense. So Brahma was saying how when Angie argues with people, she likes to like, I guess, one up them in the argument. But I mean, isn't that like the point of an argument or something, like to like, be the one that's the most heard or get your point across? She's like, oh, like she bought the scroll to Meredith. She kicked the chair with Lisa, and then she told Bronwyn to shut the F up last episode. Like, Bronwyn, you kind of maybe did need to shut the F up because you are starting to aggravate me when I watch this show. And I really liked Bronwyn at the beginning of the season, but like she just been showing a side of her that I don't like about Earth signs, and it's that y'all are messy. Like, y'all are just messy. Like, you're just messy. You're trying to disguise it behind being real and like telling somebody what they said, and that's messy. You went and thought you were interfering in Heather and Whitney's relationship when, girl, they been there, done that. Like you said, you're new to the group, which I can understand why it's weird, but let it go. So whatever, it's like you want to get mad at Angie for kicking her chair with Lisa, but you just cursed Lisa out not even a few episodes ago, and you was cursing at her and wilding out, and Angie brought that up later. We're going to get to that, but it's just like, you see how I can point that stuff out because I'm also thinking that too? It's just like the hypocrisy for me. So anyways, Meredith arrived finally, and in her interview, she says, given all the issues that she's had with Angie, she's surprised that she even wanted to come, but she's happy that she did because the day is all about inclusivity and positiveness and blah, 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 blah. And for me personally, I'm not including nobody in nothing that's important to me on a day like this. If I don't like you, you're not coming, period. I don't know why she invited Angie, but then we're going to get to why I think she did it later, which is I think we all share the same sentiment. She wanted to embarrass Angie, so we'll get to that. So, and if, you know what, let me not say that. I don't think she invited Angie to embarrass her. I think she invited her because Meredith had to invite the cast to this, because if she didn't, nobody else would care about this event because she has nothing else going on this season, seemingly. That's just how I see it. You're trying to pick fights with Mary because she is going through her own stuff and she's asking for some respect and some grace in her house, and you get mad. Whatever. My thing is, if Angie wasn't on the cast, she probably would not have even invited her. And it's like, for me, since when do you want to include Angie in anything? You didn't even want to invite her to Palm Springs. You got mad she showed up there. So it's like, you don't even like this girl. I don't know why you invited her to your bat mitzvah. If this is such a sacred thing and you feel like she's a person that puts women down, it's like, why is she here in the first place? I would never even be dealing with you if I felt like that about you. You wouldn't be coming to nothing remotely important to me in my life if this is how I felt about your character. But I don't know why Meredith does the things that she does. So anyways, Meredith starts her ceremony, she's saying her blessings and everybody's, amen and yada yada. And I believe it was my first time seeing Meredith's mom. I don't think I've ever seen her mom in all 5 seasons of the show. But anyways, after that, Mary arrived. It was so funny. She was like peeking through the window. Like, Mary is so funny because she literally just being herself. She's just being herself. Like, I can see Mary doing that when the cameras are off. That's why it's funny, because it's just like, it doesn't feel like she's trying to put on a show. Mary said in her interview that, like, given everything that she has going on with her son, she didn't know if she'd make it, but religion is important, and she ultimately does care about Meredith as a friend and a person, so she made sure to show up. But I will say, Mary, showing up late is crazy, but I'm only giving her a pass because she's going through something with her son. But I don't think Mary would have liked it if somebody else showed up late. But also, in the after show, she does make a point to say that Meredith lives in Park City, which is about an hour away from Salt Lake City. And she said, I'm a Salt Lake City resident, so I'm not about to be like, you live an hour away, so it takes me a little while to get to you. So I could kind of see that too. I could kind of see that. I don't know, because some things can become a pattern. But I also, like I said, I understand why Mary might have been late. She might be going through some things that we just didn't get to see on camera. Who knows? We get to see Mary and Meredith apologize to each other. Like, I really do appreciate that, because I like to see when the ladies get along. Mary, seemed very apologetic about her actions. I feel like she knows what she's going through, and she probably felt like she could have came off a little harsh because of that, even though that might not have been her real intentions. Meredith reached out for a hug. I was surprised, but I think she did it because Mary apologized, and I feel like she probably can feel that sincerity. But Mary says she really cares a lot about Meredith, and she thinks that their fight is silly, and she has other things that she can be worried about that are way more important, which I can agree. It was nice to see that, like I said. In another corner of the party, we got Angie asking Bronwyn if she wants to talk. So Bronwyn was like, talk? Yes, but argue? No. So I'm like, okay, you already being smart, but okay. So after Angie gave Bronwyn some compliments, Bronwyn was like, okay, so it's step 2 an apology? But you claim you don't want to argue though, but you being a smart ass. If you want an apology, that's not how you ask for an apology. Like, what? So Angie thinks that, I'm owed an apology too. And Bronwyn seems to be so shocked about the fact that Angie thinks that she owes her an apology all of a sudden. And Angie said that she thinks Bronwyn twisted her words, and Bronwyn is still mad about her telling her to shut the F up. And I'm just like, bro, you're sitting here dismissing Angie. And I'm like, if I was Angie, I would have walked away. Angie told Bronwyn it would be cheap for her to walk away right now after she, made an effort to come over and have a conversation with you. I mean, it kind of would be a little bit wacky. So Bronwyn, of course, twisting Angie's words, oh, I'm cheap. She never said you were cheap. She said it would be cheap if you were to walk away, meaning your actions would be cheap. You could do something corny but not be a corny person. It happens to the best of people. That doesn't mean she was calling you cheap. But once again, you're twisting her words, and that's her problem with you right now. So at this point, I'm really starting to get annoyed with Bronwyn, and if I was Angie, I would have just walked away, because there's nothing else to talk about. And Todd walked over there. She got mad at Todd for, like, showing Angie some respect and all this stuff, and she stormed off with him. Todd said that, Bronwyn, you didn't even give me a chance to speak. Like, that's the problem. You talk too much. Angie didn't even get, like, half of her sentence out before you're like, oh, okay, like, what's next? An apology? Like, girl, maybe it was an apology coming, but you can't stop talking, so you might not get that now. See how that works? So Bronwyn was like, oh, I told her 10 times that I wanted an apology, or there was nothing else to say. And Todd was like, okay, so why did you stay? And that's my point. Like, why would you sit there and continue to engage with somebody who's not doing what you want them to do? That's the whole thing. But then you say you don't want to argue. But yes, you do want to argue. Because if you didn't want to argue, you would have walked away. But you can't walk away because Angie just said that would be cheating. You got to prove your point, right? You got to prove your point. You got to prove your little point that nobody cares about but you. Anyways, in another corner of the party, Heather and Whitney are talking. Whitney tells Heather they need to talk about what Bronwyn said because of Bronwyn feeling like Heather and Whitney be talking about each other behind each other's back, which they do, but we know that, they know that. Bronwyn doesn't know that because she's new, and that's okay. She's going to learn quickly. Heather says in her interview that she doesn't really care or have any unresolved concerns because there's nothing that Whitney said about her that she hasn't said to her face before. Like, that's why Heather was like, girl, you trying to gag me with what Whitney said about me behind my back. Like, how about when you was talking about Whitney? But apparently Bronwyn said it to Whitney's face too. So it's just like, y'all are annoying. That's what it's really coming down to. Speaking of annoying, Lisa walked over being nosy, asking Heather and Whitney what's happening. I don't know why you walking over, you don't even like Whitney, to ask her what's happening about a conversation that her and Heather are having. But of course you had to, because you just had to insert your nose in it, right? Whitney tried to explain to Lisa, what's happening. She starts cutting her off like, Whitney. And Whitney's like, yo, like, you come over here asking me what's wrong, but you won't even let me talk. Do you want to know what's wrong or not? No, because you want to come over here and prove your point because you're still mad about something that happened in the past between me and you, but this don't have nothing to do with that. So she starts talking about how Bronwyn is basically twisting her words. And so Lisa's like, well, girl, if that's how you feel, let's call Bronwyn over here. That's the only way we can get to the bottom of it. Of course you want to call Bronwyn over here because you want to start trouble. So the camera cuts to Britani, Bronwyn, and Mazel taking pictures. And Bronwyn was like, the table's really turned because whoever thought I'd be friends with you guys? And it's like, yeah, Bronwyn, whose friend are you really? Whose friend are you really? Because you proved to Britani you wasn't really her friend later in the episode, but we're going to get to that too. But you're talking about who would have thought I'd be friends with y'all? Girl. And then I looked at the after show. Bronwyn doesn't like Britani because Britani lied about being on Broadway. But Britani's like, girl, I never lied about being on Broadway. And Bronwyn was like, she lied about the certain extent she might have been on Broadway. I guess there's like a hierarchy in Broadway or whatever, and I guess Britani just wasn't at the top. So I guess Bronwyn had a problem with her saying that she was on Broadway. But it's like, Bronwyn, what is it to you? Like, who, like... She's just, she's becoming insufferable, y'all. I'm telling y'all. Suddenly, Bronwyn and Britani walk over and they start arguing about this whole thing with Angie saying that Britani effed 10 guys. And for me, it's like, she never even said that. She said it was 3 that you're dealing with. She never said that you was, doing X, Y, and Z with. Now, Britani, on the after show, you do be up there talking about, oh, I got 10,000 people hit me on Bumble and 10,000 hit me on Twitter. Let me not say 10,000. Let me not get the number wrong. I'm going to just say she said she had a couple hits on Bumble and a couple hits on Tinder. And she also has said in the past that she had sacrificed her children for a man before. And Angie brought that up on the fucking after show. And for me, it's just like, how can you get mad when people call out the stuff that you give to people to call out? Like, girl, make it make sense. Ain't nobody saying nothing about Britani that she didn't do out in the open for somebody to have something to say about. Make it make sense. So anyways, in the middle of Britani and Angie going at it, Bronwyn decided that she wants to drop the bone that Britani also said that Bronwyn was a... And I'm just like, y'all, I'm going to just spell it out. S-L and then a U and a T. And Britani is going to sit there and act like she didn't allude to that. Now, did she, how about this? Did she directly call Angie a... That's up for debate, right? But you alluded to it. But Angie never really said that you didn't do something that you didn't do either. Because the thing is, here's the thing, right? The thing is, Britani, you say you're religious and you all about this and that and the third, but then your actions show another. And this is the disconnect. I don't understand Britani. I really don't understand her. But what I do understand is that she always playing victim. And then Bronwyn got to that. She's like, I'm tired of her talking about people and then coming to the group like, oh, poor me, like I'm a victim. And I'm like, you know what, Bronwyn? I'll give you that for that, because that's the truth. But it's like, at the same time, you got your faults too. But for me, it's like right before that, we seen Bronwyn say to Mazel and Britani, like, oh, who thought I'd be friends with you guys? And then you go, while your friend is having an argument, you go and give the other person she's arguing with some ammunition when you don't even like the other person. That's nobody's friend. That's nobody's friend, and she's to not be trusted or to be talked around. She is dangerous. So Angie started flaming Britani. She's like, from her hair to her clothes, like, you're done. Like, you look a mess. You look like this. You look like that. She was on Britani so bad to the point where she made that girl walk out the party and cry. To the point where you got Whitney and everybody just treating the girl like a victim. Like, okay, here we go again. Britani's the victim. Now you got Lisa and Whitney telling you to go apologize to the girl. She out there crying to Meredith, son, who then told Meredith what was said. Now you got Meredith over here. She couldn't wait for a moment. So Lisa's trying to dissolve the situation. She's like, come on, come apologize to her, Angie, whatever. And Meredith is just up in arms already, ready to kick Angie out. But my thing is, you're not ready to kick out Britani. You didn't even have all of the facts. Did you know why she even started talking about Britani in the way she was talking about her? Because of what Bronwyn said she said about her. But you wasn't there for that. But you was so thirsty to kick Angie out that you couldn't wait for your moment, your opportunity to get your get back, because you've been trying to kick her out way back when. Corny. And this is what I'm saying. Why you even invite her? You do not like her. You don't like her. Like when Bronwyn didn't invite Heather on a trip, was it mean in terms of, okay, if you don't come on this trip, then that's less episodes for you, meaning you're not coming on a cast trip? Like, okay, it was mean in that sense, but in real life, girl, you're not coming on my trip if I don't like you, period. So I don't understand why she invited Angie, to be honest with you. She could have left her out. I can understand her inviting Mary a little bit more than Angie because they were actually friends. She should be glad that she invited Angie to her event because if it wasn't for Angie, the drama that them other girls had probably would not have lasted this whole episode. Angie turned you up, baby girl. Let's not forget. It just felt like Meredith wanted another you can leave moment, and it just did not translate that way because it's just like, you're corny. Like, it was just, it was just, So, you know what? If you want to kick Angie out, good thing she left out with a bang. She threw Brittany coat on the floor like, girl, like, bye. Like, all y'all, I'm just done. Then Meredith's talking about Angie disrespects people as a woman, and she's talking about she disrespected Brittany as a woman. Like, Brittany gets on camera and disrespects herself as a woman. Do you not see the things that she does in the delusional world that she lives in? Like, for crying out loud, you have gotten on TV and said you sacrificed your children for men in the past, and you want me to think that you respect yourself as a woman? Why should somebody treat you with respect if you don't respect yourself? Like, Meredith, be so real right now. Like, you just wanted to have a problem with Angie, period. So Angie told Brittany, don't call me again. And Brittany was like, I never did that. I never did that. Like, girl, you was popping off at the lips. And Bronwyn pulled your car. You thought you had a friend. You didn't. So Lisa went outside to go check on Angie because they're like cool now. And so she goes to check on Angie, see how she's doing. And Lisa goes in her interviews and says, like, I don't know how Angie doesn't see her part in things. Like, she always says things and doesn't remember what she said, just how somebody reacted. Like, Lisa, that kind of sounds like you. I think that sounds like Lisa to me. Sounds like Lisa. Like what you said about Meredith a few seasons ago, how she F half in New York. Yeah, remember that? So anyways, Angie was basically saying that she was embarrassed that Meredith invited her and asked her to leave. And I just said, I hope Meredith is happy. At the end of the day, I don't think Meredith initially invited Angie to kick her out, but I felt like she seen a moment and she took it. But guess what? You kicked her out. You wanted her to leave. She left with a bang. And she left you at your party looking crazy. Because at the end of the day, Brittany played you for a fool, acting like she wasn't involved and saying things about Angie to make her react in that way. And that's all I got to say about that. Next episode, we have a girl trip plan that Lisa had planned already before all of this started happening. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. This episode was definitely good. I will give that. The Salt Lake City ladies always clock in, even when they don't. And yeah, subscribe to the channel so you can see the next recap. Turn on the notification bell so you can get notifications when I upload the next recap. And also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at mostlydarius and at the discussion. And I'll see you guys in the next recap. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.